What's up, Internet? Dyce Quirk here, and today I'm going to teach you 10 new engaging activities that you can use as a warm-up at the beginning of your ESL, EFL, or JET classes. So please make sure you stick around, and before we get started and I show you these 10 awesome new activities, I want to explain the formatting for this video. So, to start off, with each activity that I show you, I want to tell you what that activity is good at. I have these 6 categories that I think are incredibly important when you're practicing a foreign language, whether that's English, Japanese, or anything else. First is continuous speaking, and this is just speaking in general. When people are practicing a new language, usually it's because they want to have conversations with people, and having the ability to continuously speak in that other language is very important. The next is reading. You can speak with people, but you can't read. You can only go so far in a language. Third is listening. You can talk all you want, but if you can't understand the other person when they respond, then you really haven't got anything, and it's not gonna land you very many good conversations, so that's important. Next is fast response. You can have a conversation with someone, but if it takes 4 minutes for you to make your sentence to respond, they're probably not gonna wanna talk to you very much. And this is also a really important thing to practice for speech tests. The next category is vocab recall. Now, what I mean by this is there's a difference between recognition and recall. When you can recognize something, that's like if you can read and you see the word and then you know what it means, that's different than recall, where you're trying to put together an idea in your head, and so you have to bring the word out of your mind and then be able to speak it. It's just like with kanji in Japanese. You can easily see a kanji and then be able to read it, but sometimes it's very difficult for you to think of, oh, what was the thing that you say for that kanji, or what was, how do you write that kanji? It's in my head, but recall is very, very important. Next is writing. Writing is usually the most difficult thing to make activities for, and that's because it's usually not the most fun. It takes the most time, and it also is just overall usually the most difficult part of learning a foreign language is being able to write out that language. So any activity that you can think of or in this video that uses writing is very, very good, okay? As long as it can make it fun and engaging. I hope that you guys are ready. Let's take a look at activity number 1. Okay, so we have activity number 1. I like to call this game Wild West Showdown, and it kind of plays off of cowboys, okay? And this game focuses specifically on vocab recall and fast response, all right? So in this activity, it is a very fast activity. You can get this done in 2 minutes. You can get it done in 5 minutes if you want to play multiple rounds. It's a very, very fast activity that you can put at the beginning of class, and it gets everyone excited. But the prep work for this game is the very first time. Like with most of these activities, it's a little bit more prep the first time, and then you can easily edit it to make more of this exact same activity. So in this activity, let me just show you a little bit about it. We have the rules, which basically all the students get into a pair. They have to have a pen and a pencil, okay? So me with one other student, we would be standing there, and we'd have our pen and pencil in each hand, and the pen is one thing, okay? In this case, it's fruit. So the students are thinking about fruits, and the pencil is vegetable. So you have pen, fruit, pencil, vegetable. And I'll be up at the front, and after all the students have found a partner real quick, I have this screen pop up, and it says ready, and then it has a blank spot. And I'll, in a really gruff voice, just go 3, 2, 1, and then bam! And they have to draw their pen or pencil depending on what pops up. So it's a mango right now, so I believe, if I recall, it was fruit. So they would have to pull up their pen, and whoever drew faster, they win. And the other students, it's as if they got outdrawn, and they sit down. So you can see how this would be a very quick activity. Every round knocks out half the class, and it's really, really fun. The students love to stand up and try to be faster than their friends, and also this activity makes it so that people that are really good at English can still play with people that are really bad at English. And it's still fun for those students that are bad at English because there's only a couple options. You can either draw the pen, the pencil, sometimes both, sometimes neither. So like in this one, I have fruits and vegetables. So maybe I draw something like, if it was fruits and animals, kiwi. That's fruit and an animal. I had to draw both. Or in this one, fruits and vegetables, I put pizza. what is that? That's neither. So then you would keep your hands down. You can also do this with grammar. So like you have a sentence up here and then 3, 2, 1, draw. And then it has am, is, are. Like he is, they are, anything like that, okay? So this is a very great activity. A couple ways you can make it more fun is I'll usually play the good, the bad, and the ugly in the background on my phone, like for some ambiance, some good cowboy music, and all the students are super excited. I also make sure I recommend that the students that have sit down, they continue to practice, okay? And I think I skipped over this, but the students that are really bad at English, the reason why they can still play is because it is kind of only a couple options. And so, even if they luck their way through, they're excited about English class, okay? And that is a big deal because the more excited you can get students, the better. They're gonna be more engaged and they're gonna wanna do it more. So then I'll go back to ready, bam, there's another one. And then whenever I start counting, they know they have to really quickly rush to a new partner. So it kind of lets you be in charge of the timing as well. So bam, 3, 2, 1, bam. Next, you know. So it's really good. Let's move on to activity number 2. Okay, so this is activity number 2. And I like to call this Tim Sensei's Art Gallery. So this could be your name, you know, Tim Sensei. Maybe your name's Ryan, Paul, I don't know. But Paul Sensei's Art Gallery, just switch it up. Sometimes I like to switch it to other teachers in the building, and maybe I'll ask them to put stuff together. But anywho, this activity is actually very good at 2 things. It's very good at continuous talking. So the students have to continuously be talking, and that's really good to practice. And then it's also very good for listening. It's another pair activity where you have 2 students paired up together. Its preparation time is a little bit longer than the previous activity, and that's because each one of these requires a medium amount of preparation time. In addition, this activity usually takes a full 5 minutes because you'll have students paired up in partners and each one will get a turn at the activity. You also need 1 paper for every pair in the classroom, okay? So that means if you have 30 students in the classroom, you need at least 15 papers for them to use. In my classes, sometimes they use their own notebooks to do this activity. So let's look at what we're doing here, okay? In this activity, 1 student faces the back wall and the other student in the pair faces the front wall, okay? So 1 student can see what I have up here and the other student can't see it. And that student that's facing the back wall and can't see this will have a piece of paper, and the other student, basically, they have to describe what they see here, okay? So I say, okay, everyone ready? Go! And then bam, there's a picture that pops up, usually with some vocab that I know that they're aware of, okay? So like triangle. Ooh, I've been teaching them mustache because in Japanese, mustache and beard are the same word, so it's like hige. But they need to know mustache, okay? So I've been teaching them that. They know the words for in, above, below, and so the students will have to describe this picture to their partner. So they would say, oh, there is a triangle, It is upside down. In the triangle, there is a mustache. There is an oval under the mustache, you know, and they describe the picture as best they can. And I'll give them like 2 minutes, okay, to try to describe this picture. And after the 2 minutes, I have a timer, it goes off, and then I tell all the students, turn around, take a look. And so the first student that was trying to draw whatever they described, they get to look and they're like, oh, I was very close, or I was so off. And so they're practicing listening skills while the other student is practicing continuous speaking. Because the more you can say about your picture, the better in that amount of time. And the more accurately you can describe it, the better it's going to look. And then after that, I'll say, okay, switch. And then 1 student turns around, the other one is looking at the board, and I'll go 3, 2, 1, go! And they see a new picture. And as you can see in this one, I have a baby that clearly they're not going to be able to describe perfectly. As the students get better at the game, I tend to just add these more obscure things for them to try to draw. And like this baby has an eye patch. What? So they have a lot of fun with this activity. the students love to draw the pictures and to also try to describe it to their friends. And when they see something like this that's like way off the wall, they're just like, whoa, you know, so they're having a blast. And that is a great way to start English class and set the mood for the rest of the English period. So this is a great activity if you really want to have fun. They might not make perfect sentences, but they're practicing a little bit of vocab recall because they have to remember hige, which is beard, eye patch, like all of these different shapes. And I moved away from shapes just because my students started to get really good at it. So, you know, as you continue to make these activities, you know, just make it more and more difficult. They'll have more fun with it. So, let's move on to the next activity. Okay, activity number 3. This one's called Picture Perfect, and this is one that I'm particularly proud of. And it's because it does a number of great things. First off, it helps with continuous speaking. It helps with listening. It helps with vocab recall, and it also helps with writing from time to time. And I'll teach you how you can use this with writing. But this is also an activity that I made after looking at the Eiken, which is like the Japanese version of the JLPT for English, okay? So this is like their English exam. And so it's really great inside of Japanese classrooms when you're trying to help prep them for the English test that they can take for basically putting that on their resume and everything. In this activity, it is a little bit more prep. This is kind of about as much prep as the previous activity. You have to make pictures, okay? Or you just have to find pictures to use. And it also is kind of a medium speed activity, okay? And it's, again, another pair activity. So one student will face the front, one student will face the back. And in this activity, I show a picture. And the first student that can see everything up here, they have to describe the picture as best they can. Okay, so, oh, there's 2 chickens. One chicken is eating popcorn. One chicken is crying. There are 2 cats and a dog? I don't know. So, you know, they're trying very hard to describe it. And then, after maybe 1 minute, I actually have a timer go off, and the other student turns around. I switch to this. There are 3 different pictures here, and each picture has a little bit of the same stuff, okay? And so they are dependent on how well their partner could describe the picture. And so then I'll ask the class, okay, who thinks their partner's picture was number 1? Who thinks number 2? Who thinks number 3? Okay? And they have to try to pick the picture that their partner saw. And so, one way to make this activity more difficult is to try to include a lot of the same stuff. So every one of these pictures has 2 chickens. Okay, so if they just say 2 chicken, that's not enough information. So they have to practice, and as they continue to see this game, they'll learn more and more vocab to try to differentiate from the others. And they don't know what these other 2 pictures are, so they have to describe everything they can inside of the picture. And on the Eiken, they have an activity just like this, where they'll show 3 pictures and then they have to listen and then choose which one the speaker is talking about. So this is a great activity for Japanese learners of English. In addition, this activity has an awesome opportunity for writing. Okay, that's what I was saying before. So the first way you play this activity is by speaking. Okay, and then after the timer, after they choose, then you pick. So like this is another one. It's a big old area with a lot of people, a lot of things. And then I show them these 3 pictures. It's all in a park. There's water in all of them. There's a dog in each one of them, everything. So, yeah, that's just one thing. But so if I wanted to make this into a writing activity, I could make the pictures just a little bit more simple. Beforehand, I make sure all of the teams have a piece of paper that they can write on. The one student that's facing this way, instead of talking about the picture, they have to write everything they can about it. So, yellow, tray, square, pizza, macaroni. They don't know this word. They don't know macaroni. Macaroni and cheese is not in Japan, by the way, so be prepped. I guess it is. It's just hard to come by. There's a spoon, fork, black fork, you know. They have to describe everything, but in writing. And then, after 1 minute and the timer goes off, I show them 3 similar pictures, and they have to read their partner's notes and figure out which picture it is, okay? So this is a great activity, and students can have a lot of fun with it. And again, like all of these activities, I try to make sure it has a certain element of competition or certain element of fun to make sure it elevates the atmosphere in the rest of the class for the rest of the period. So let's look at activity number 4. Okay, so activity number 4, and this is one of my favorites. It's called Fast Talker, okay? And in this activity, you're going to be practicing listening, continuous speaking, and also vocab recall. And one of the reasons why this is one of my favorites, and I'm super happy how it came out, is just that it's probably the most pure conversational practice out of all of the activities, and it's super fun, and the students get super engaged with it, okay? So, in this activity, it requires a decent amount of preparation for your first time. After you set it up the first time and the students understand how it works, then this game, you could start putting this in every class if you wanted to, and the students probably wouldn't care. And then also, this is just a great way to practice conversation. So, I have the bomb here because my students, they really loved a hot potato activity, and they just associated the hot potato with like a bomb. Okay. So this activity is similar to kind of a hot potato, but it takes all of the pressure and puts it on the person who's speaking, okay, so that they want to rush to get it done. So this is kind of a medium speed activity. Let's take a look. So first off, I always tell the students English only. Like with most of my activities, they can only speak in English. And also, the thing that makes this a harder prep for a lot of schools, and maybe you can't do this, but I hope you can, is we use a chess timer. So the students in my school, they have a tablet, and I found a website, which I have right here, just chess timer time me. You can type that into Google, and then you can find an application where you could use a chess timer on your tablet, and I'll have the students in pairs. And the thing with a chess tablet, or a chess timer, is that you can have 2 minutes set for each person, okay? And then, when somebody clicks, it basically starts the timer, okay? So it's starting for me. And I'll have to say something. I say a statement and a question, and then click it, and this person's timer turns on, okay? So now this 2 minutes is going down, and I have to say a statement and a question, and click it, and it's back to this person, and the timers never reset. They just keep going down, and they stop when it's on the other person. So, in hot potato, typically you can like wait it out, be like, oh, it's been like 30 seconds, am I gonna take another second? 31, pass, you know, say whatever I need to, pass. And then this person that's been waiting the whole time, they get punished for it, okay? In this activity, the longer you take, the more pressure is on you. So, for example, I'll give them a scene like dinner, okay? And I'll start, I had a great dinner last night, how about you? I had a good dinner. I had steak. What did you have? I had blah, 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 okay? And so it keeps on going down every time they click it. It switches the timer to the other person. And I have like an example here, like, oh, what did you have for breakfast? I usually have grilled fish. How about you? You know, they keep on clicking, and then eventually, whoever the timer lands on just blows up. And so in my class, my JTE, or my Japanese teacher of English, who's my partner, he would play just like bomb noises in the background, just like a bunch of bombs going off. And so all the students are already tense and they're having a lot of fun. They're like, oh, no, no, no. And they're trying to think. And again, all of these are for setting the atmosphere in the class. And so this is a great way to get all the students thinking in English, and then also super excited and just like a little bit nervous, but it's a good nervous, okay? So that is one thing about this. Again, the first time you do it, it might take an additional amount of time for the students to understand how to set up and how to use the chess timer, but this is an amazing activity, and I think every school in Japan should be doing this at least once a week or something. So let's move on to activity number 5. Okay, so this is activity number 5, and basically this activity is probably one of the slower ones. It practices listening skills, and it requires a decent amount of prep. So this might not be one that you do every week. It might not even be one that you do maybe more than once a month. But in this activity, I have these sheets that I'll show up on the screen. Basically, I made these for my class, and I have a little story that I tell the students. And so I have this first slide, okay? And I say, what is this, class? What is this? Tim's cupcake. Oh, this is my cupcake. I love my cupcake, but Mr. Inomata-sensei stole my cupcake. And so I get this whole story going, okay, about how this person took this thing from me, and he hid it, and he locked it away. And then I tell the students that they can help me get my cupcake back. And so this game kind of plays a little bit off of Clue, if you know how that game works. Basically, I have a little story right here that I'm going to read through and the students can't see. And I gave them the sheet, which has a number of different locations and a number of different numbers on it. Okay, so over here I have a lock combo, and there's 3 different circles with 3 different numbers in it. So they listen to my story, and as they hear different locations, like for example, in this, I might say, I went to the school. Shh, mark off school. And I saw 12 cats. Shh. Then I went to the swimming pool. Shh. And so on and so forth until they knock out each one of the things, and then they know the answer. So the only thing left is park. So then they have park. And the only thing left over there is 36. So they have the answer 36. And basically, in this activity, they're listening for critical information, for key vocab words that I have on this sheet, okay? And you can make this as difficult or easy as you want. One thing that's really helpful in this activity is you can put words that sound very similar. So they're practicing listening for very specific sounds. Like I have 13 and 30, 13 and 30, 12 and 20, 14 and 40, like those kinds of things. And then if there's other vocab words that you know the students need to practice listening to just a little bit more, you can make a silly little story and then have them listen for these particular words. And this game plays almost exactly like Clue, okay? But it's a way better than a word search, okay? Because a word search, they're not doing anything. Certainly they have to look at the vocab word and then they have to find it, but they're not actually using the right part of their brain for like trying to figure out what that word means or anything. At least in this activity, they are practicing listening for what the word sounds like instead of just looking for a combination of letters or a pattern. I think that this is a way better activity for that, but it does require a decent amount of extra prep. And at the end of the whole thing, I tell them what the answers are, and then I say, oh, who got it right? And then I'll show them like, oh, thank you, congratulations, you helped me get my cupcake, thank you. And they're all so excited because it's just fun, okay? I take something that's usually difficult and boring and I try to make it just a little bit fun. Sometimes I'll add a bonus question, like at this one, I say like how many bananas were in the story or something like that. And then it gives like an extra level of difficulty for those students that want to take it. So let's look at the next activity, number 6. Okay, so activity number 6. Now this one is called Language Pyramid. I know it's hard to read that on there, but in Language Pyramid, they're going to be practicing listening and sometimes reading skills, okay? And basically, I print out these little sheets, which I could fit like, 12 of these to a sheet. And on this, you have the person at the very top, and then the number of options below it, and lines that draw to all the potential options from those little sections, okay? So, basically, I'll play like a little bit of like Egyptian kind of sounding music, maybe from a video game to get them all excited. And I'll also have a number of questions. So with these, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. And as I ask questions, they'll have different answers. So for the first question, on the board, I'll have like option A, B, or C. And they have to listen. And then, oh, the answer was A, so then they're going to number 1, okay, because it'll have a 1 next to it. And then, for question 2, there's only 1s and 2s. So, they're listening, and they think the answer is 2, so they go to 2, then 1, and so on and so forth until they reach the very bottom. Now, I always tell the students that in the pyramid, there are traps. So if you go the wrong way one time, even if you make it to the right one on the bottom, then you passed away. You don't have to do that. You could just say, if you come to the right number at the bottom, then you win. But I like to make it so that they have to get to the exact one. They just try really quick. This activity is also pretty fast. It could be slow if you're practicing more listening, but it's a good activity. You go through, and then they have to reach the correct one on the bottom. You show them the answer at the very end, and they look at their sheet, and they're like, oh, did I get it right? Yes or no? And for this, I made it so that it could be for either first year, second year, or third year. You can even make this for elementary school if you just want to practice listening skills for like numbers. So like 3, and then have a couple options. Which one did I say? It could be used for colors, for any vocab really. In this activity, I think I used it for, let's look at Sannensei. What is something I did? What did you hear? So I have like a list, and I'll say 13. Okay, which one is it? Well, it's 2, okay? Then I'll have the next one. What did Tim buy? I'll tell them a short little story, and it might be like 3 sentences, and then they have to tell me, was it a hat or a t-shirt? And they'll draw the line from 2 to the next one, and so on and so forth, okay? So this one does require a little bit of pre-meditation. Usually you want to make sure that you make the slideshow. After you make it one time, it's really, really easy to continue to remake it. So definitely try this one out. Okay, so this is another game that maybe you've seen a reiteration of it, but I really enjoy. It's called What Is It? Okay? And in this game, the students are going to be in pairs, once again. One student facing the front, one student facing the back. And you'll start off, usually I go, okay, Junken Po, or rock, paper, scissors, and whoever wins, so then I'll like pick up the hand that wins, and I'll say, faces the front. Whoever loses, faces the back, okay? So that's just one way to quickly get them organized. This activity focuses on continuous talking, it focuses on listening, and it also focuses on vocab recall. The preparation is quite minimal. Basically, you have to find just a bunch of different items. Usually they go through this like maybe 3 rounds. So the first round, you have the first student go. The second round, you have the second student go. And then for the third round, you have them rock, paper, scissors for the last one, okay? But in this game, the students are going to have 3 pictures pop up, okay? So I usually do an example with my JTE. So I'll describe, the first is, it's an animal. They're not allowed to say this word. They have to describe it. So it's an animal, and it's black and white. And maybe they'll joke and say, oh, is it a panda? No, not panda. This makes milk. And then they'll say cow, oh. And then for English, I'll be like, oh, this is the best class, the most fun class. And then they'll say, oh, is it PE? No. And then I'll say, oh, this is your favorite class, my favorite, everyone's favorite class. And then they'll say like, oh, math or something, and we'll keep joking around. But we'll go through this whole thing, and then we'll let the students go. You can have a number of different things. For this activity, like when I'm making it one time, I usually just think of, okay, here's 25 things that I could put in this activity, and then I will use the same template. I'll just replace the pictures and the words real fast. I try to make sure that it's something all of the students can describe, but you can go anywhere with this. And the students will be describing, they have to get through all 3 pictures within 1 minute, okay? That's what makes it a little bit more difficult. You could go for 1 minute, 30 seconds or whatever, but it's very fun. You'll get some interesting interactions when the other student turns around and sees, oh, koala! Koalas aren't cute, or whatever. So, that's just one really fun activity, and you can do it however you want. This can be used with elementary school, junior high, high school. It's a little bit more difficult with elementary school, but it can be done. So let's move on to the next activity. Okay, so this next activity is called Friends List. And this is a great activity, but it does require a lot of prep work on your part. And what I say it takes a lot of prep work on your part, that's because whether you're the teacher or whether you're the ALT, it requires you to ask some of your friends to send you a video. Okay, now I know that you can't do this last minute. This is something that takes a little bit of prep work, but it's a very great activity because it focuses on listening and it also focuses on writing. In addition, this is a great way for students to be exposed to just different speakers. Basically what I do is I give a template to a couple of my friends and I ask them if they can send me a quick little video using a couple things from the template. Like they might have like 12 different questions that they could answer or whatever, and I ask them to send me those videos so that I can put it into a PowerPoint. And basically I tell the students like, hey, this is my friends list. These are my friends. I want you to meet my friends. So which friend do you want to talk to? And I'll give them a choice between a couple different friends. And let's say they choose number 3 because number 3 is one of our sponsors for this video, so thank you very much. But this person they have their video, and then they actually...
Howdy, my name is Luke.
They listen to a foreign speaker saying, whatever's on their mind, whatever's inside the template, and then I'll ask the students, what did you hear? Oh, what did you hear? What is his name? And the students, they will say whatever they can about it, and then maybe if there's something interesting said, like he said howdy, which that's not normal for them. They know hi, but they don't know howdy. So I might say something about that as well. So this is a great way to expose students to a lot of different things. They're practicing listening, and they get to see their English in class actually working. They are hearing foreigners and they are understanding them. So this is an exciting activity, and it's really cool. I have a couple different people in here. Like this is my sister. She's really cool. This is one of my other friends, and they all were super nice to send me this. And it makes it really nice if you give them a template, just a general template, so that they know what your students can understand. But yes, great activity. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, now this activity doesn't use the projector at all. This is actually something that requires a lot of prep initially, but after you make it, this is something you can easily pull out, use any class all the time, and it works super, super well. The more that you do at the beginning, the more prep you do initially, the better this pays off in the future, like big time. So this activity really helps out with listening, vocab recall, continuous talking, and it can be reading, but because I use pictures, it kind of takes away from that. I probably shouldn't have done pictures, but anywho, so I have these cards, and I made roughly about like 50 to 60 cards, okay? So in my classes, the biggest class I have is 33 students. So actually it's I think 30. But anywho, so I have 60 of these. That means I can give every student 2 cards, and I'll have the students get into groups of 4 students. So in their little group, each person has 2 cards. That means there's 8 cards per group, and they'll have to pick random cards, or I'll pass them out random cards. They are not allowed to show it to their partners, but they'll get these cards, and for me, I just got umbrella, and I have firework. So it's my turn, I'm starting, and it's our group's goal to try to get through all of our cards as fast as we can. We want to beat all the other groups. So I'd be like, this is something that in the sky, it explodes. I'm not allowed to say the word. Very colorful, many colors. At night, this is at night. Just describing it as much as I can. And I have a lot of description activities because I want the students talking, and it also allows them to make their own sentences, which is a big deal. A lot of people struggle with making their own sentences. And so once they get one of these, they put it down, it moves to the next person, and then they pick up one of their cards, and they try to describe it, and then it keeps on moving in a circle. And once they all finish, I have them raise their hand. And so, that's awesome. I congratulate them, good job, but there might still be a lot of other tables that are still going. So I will, if I have extra cards, I'll give them all another extra set of cards, and I say, go again. And this is something that you can have go for as long as you want. So if I needed 5 minutes, I could have it stop at 5 minutes. Like, oh, good job everyone, because as different groups finish, I collect their cards, and then I'll pass them out to other people. And the more cards you have, the more likely you are to get some tough spots with some kids. If someone's really struggling, like really hard, I might say, do you want a new card? And they're like, yeah. So then I'll switch out their card, like, oh, camera, I can do that. But they're not allowed to act out anything. They can only use English, and so it's really, really good for that. But this is an awesome activity, and if you need it to go longer, you can always make it go longer. But again, it requires a lot of prep on the initial planning. So definitely recommend this. I call it cards, and it's great because you can use it for any vocab and all of your vocab. So let's look at the next activity. Okay, so this is the last activity that I'm going to be showing you guys, and it's probably one of the most interesting. And the thing is, this activity is not an opener, okay? It's not a warm-up. This is something that you can use for an entire class, and the students, every time I do it, they love it so much, okay? This is a great activity because it also can be used for vocab recall, writing, listening, and reading all at the same time. And if you ever are just handed over a class, like sometimes your teacher, like maybe they have to step out or something happens, and so then you are just, now I have to do an entire class, okay? This is a great opportunity for that. And basically, in this activity, it requires the most prep work, but it's something that you can pull out whenever you need it, okay? So I usually have one of these prepped at all times, just in the background, okay? I prep this beforehand, and then I wait until something happens, and then they give me a full class, and then I might make another one after that class, okay? But this requires PowerPoint for sure, and it also requires one piece of paper per group, and I divide out in the class into 4 groups for this activity. So if you have if you have 30 students, then you're gonna divide that entire 30 only into 4 groups. So they're big teams, okay? But in this activity, all of the students, when they're in their teams, there's gonna be one person writing, and they're all collaborating through the activity, okay? So let's take a look. I have some very simple rules. Answer a question correctly, roll the dice, okay? But I changed this from rolling the dice to spinning, like a spinner. Your roll, or your spin, damages the monster, okay? And the last one, if you roll a 1, or if you spin a 1, you must draw a card. So I have these cards here that I made. So let me give you just a quick look. I always start it with a weird question, sorry, but let's look at this one. I have a big old paragraph here, and then I ask, which animal did Inomata Sensei not see? So this is a reading one. So they have to read through this, and then with their group, they have the one writer and they're all talking and they're trying to figure it out, and then they'll write the one answer on their sheet, okay? For the first question. And let's say they get the correct answer. That's when we have this over here, okay? Okay, so over here, I have this is their player character, okay? So I have a picture of Link. I just made a bunch of these things. So I have 4, which I'll use one for each team. I'm just showing one right now for an example, okay? So I have this right here, and then I have one monster printed out for each group, which I have put a magnet on the back of each one of them so that I can put them on the board. And so each group will have a person and a monster, and then for that class, depending on how much time I have, I write a different amount of HP. So for this one, I usually write 50 out of 50, okay? So every team will have a different monster, and it'll have 50 out of 50 under it, okay? And basically, when they answer a question correctly, they come over here and they spin, and then bam, wow, a 6, that's great. So then I'll erase one of these numbers. I know this is the wrong side, but it's just for an example, you know, you guys can get it. But then, so 6 damage, 40, oh man. My Japanese is coming out. So that's 44, okay? So after the first question, they reached 44 HP out of 50. And then the next question will come up, and if they get it right, they spin. Oh, they got a 1. So in this activity, I also made these little cards. And these cards have random effects, and this is what makes it a big equalizer, because if you get one of these, it could do good for you, it could do bad. So like this one. You can't read it because my camera's not focusing quite well on it. Let me see if I can get that. There we go. Other team's monster get plus 2 HP. So then I would add plus 2 HP to all of these guys. And there's other ones like your monster gets 6 HP, your monster gets plus 2 HP. Next dice roll, if it's correct, or next spin, if it's correct, is 2 dice. So you get to spin it 2 times. All sorts of different things in here. And like, oh, Master Sword. Your next answer that's correct, you get to spin 3 times. So all of this just adds up to the students are answering English questions, which they could be either listening questions, they can be writing, or like they could be listening, they could be reading, they could be any variety of questions. You can even do one where you just like say a particular word and you ask, what did I say? Please write it out. Sometimes I like to put, because I'm a Japanese English teacher, like I teach English in Japan, I might write out a katakana word that I know they know like what it means, but they might have a difficult time spelling it. I say, spell this word. And basically every single round, the students get to figure out if they're gonna be spinning or not. And by the end of the class, if you have 50 HP, unless you're really good with time, they're never really going to beat the monster, but you can make it lower if you want. If you get closer to the end rounds, you're like, oh, we only have 10 minutes left or 5 minutes left. All numbers are doubled, you know, whatever. But this is a great way to take an entire class. The students love it because they're fighting a monster and they get to work together, and you can make it about any questions you want. So you can make it difficult questions for them that you think they need to practice more. It could be about easier stuff. But having this format where you have like every person's a different character, and then they have HP, this just ties it into their love for video games, and it makes it more fun. I've seen a kind of version of this with Mario Kart where you just go around like a track, but I think that this is a different way to make it interesting. Instead of having them go around a track, have them beat a monster. You know, that's super cool. But yes, this is awesome. Please try it. Maybe if you don't like Zelda, use Kirby or some other video game character. It's just a great activity. Let's take a quick look at a couple other questions I have in here. So I have which sentence is written correctly in Japanese. That's something you could do. Another listening question. And for this one, I give 3 hints. I say, oh, she wears pink. She's a princess. She nani nani. And basically they have to try to choose which person it is. Oh, how much did Mr. Tim spend? So I'm asking them to think very critically about what I'm saying and listen for key details. Tim is a man. Tim likes pizza. This is a particular grammar that my san-nensei, or 3rd years, learned, combining these 2 types of sentences. So Tim is a man who likes pizza. So you can practice anything with this, and it's a great way to review, especially near the end of the year when you might be getting full classes where you just have to do it. So I definitely recommend having at least one of these. So, how did you guys feel about those warm-up activities? Now, personally, I love them, and it works incredibly well in the classrooms I have here in Japan. But, honestly, you might already have some awesome games yourself. So, if you have an awesome game that you think is worth sharing and that you want to share with a wide variety of people, please leave it in the comments. Or if you take one of my games and you alter it in such a way for a particular grammar or just to make it more fun and engaging, please leave that in the comments as well. Here we want this entire video and everything surrounding it to just be a resource for a lot of other English teachers and learners. So, in addition to that, if you know somebody that's teaching English as a second language or as a foreign language, please share this video with them so that they might be able to see some of these ideas and then create something completely of their own. Honestly, I think that being creative in the classroom is a great way to make an engaging and a fun experience for the students. So, I hope that you guys will check that out, and if you want to teach here in Japan like I am, please check out our other video over here where we talk about the JET program and I teach you how to apply for the JET program so that you have the best shot possible to get in. And speaking of that, you can tell that we're in a different space, right? So I was teaching you guys about all these activities while I was at school, but between me finishing that portion of the video and doing this portion of the video, and this is where I kind of film most of my stuff, there has been a dragon canoe race that we were in, there's been a commercial that we made for our town, and so much more. So I hope that you'll check out those videos as well, which you can find links in the description. I guess that's below, the description's below, or the pinned comment below. They might not be up the moment this video is up because I'm still editing, but they should be up very soon after. So I hope to see you guys either in one of those videos or in this one over here. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.